So it says you argued against the 1619 project on the basis that parents don't want a warts-free, quote, telling of American history. Given the backlash of state laws and the reality that a plurality of Americans say the Civil War was fought over states' rights only, not slavery or both, there's plenty of evidence that many people do want a pro-patriot version of U.S. history taught. Why should moderates not be working to unite with reformers, given widespread historical illiteracy manifest in the U.S. today?
Well, I think that's a good question. I mean, it would be just as easy. Well, first of all, there's an assumption that honest reformers are on one side of the fence there. I mean, there are many moderate organizations like FAIR, the Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism, for example, 1776 Unites, although they frankly do lean a bit right, but a Black-led organization there that favor teaching history, teaching slavery honestly, but that have entire alternative curricula to 1619. So I don't think saying that moderates should unite with reformers necessarily means that moderates should unite with reformers on the left. But again, I said I was going to give sort of honest upfront answers here. We discussed the text of some of the CRT bills. There are two at least that I can say I flatly oppose, and I generally have a policy against the banning of speech. That said, I don't think that limiting, say, the Zen curriculum, or I mean, the Communist Party of the United States has an educational curriculum, and it's been downloaded more than a few times. I don't think blocking those from the primary schools in your state is much of an issue. So that's my view on, I guess, anti-CRT legislation. In terms of, yeah, I think that's an answer to the question. I think that moderates should advance coherent views of what we want taught, which might mean sometimes unifying with the left and sometimes with the right. I don't think it ever means saying 1619 is the accepted version of history in the USA.
Yeah, which I don't think anyone's trying to do. It's not about accepted version or not. It's about breadth of learning. But
well, sure. I mean, okay, so I'll say this right now. If a district says, and this is something I think that moderate parents might want to consider doing. If a district says we're going to teach the 1776 and 1619 curriculums and then host a series of debates, no problem at all. The issue, so the best discussion or the best summary I've ever heard of this actually came in a philosophy class. I think it was Philosophy 356 with Professor Clinton. Not that matters to all the audience, but at Southern Illinois University some years ago. And Clinton was talking about how in this class we discussed all the major religions and we'd been criticized about that, I think actually from the right in Southern Illinois. We talked about Hinduism, Islam, and so on. And his comment was, obviously, we're going to discuss Hinduism, discuss Islam, discuss Christianity, Zoroastrianism, whatever, but we're not going to say that any of these is the actual ordained word of God. And I think that that's the difference between teaching a class called Symposium on Race or something like that, and touching on CRT as, of course, you would, and also on Thomas Sowell on the one hand, and on the other hand, teaching from a book written by Howard Zinn, who is a Marxist. I mean, I'm touching on Zinn and 1619 frequently as my examples. There are many such curricula. But I think one of those could only be challenged by a genuine bigot, but the second would be opposed by the large majority of people who have different ideological preferences.
Okay, I don't know about that. I don't know how you come to that conclusion, but I hear you.
That the large majority of people disagree with what, Marxism?
Well, I mean, not Marxism, but, you know, the 1619 Project, for one.
Well, I think that this, so again, whether or not you feel that they ought to, and again, you and I as free tax-paying adults, we can disagree on that. I think it's pretty clear that the large majority, I mean, you just said 50% of people have a view of the Civil War that's, if anything, too rose-colored to the right. So I think we can very empirically say that the large majority of parents would disagree with the 1619 curriculum. The question then becomes, does that matter? What role do the parents have? We can have those debates. But there is one real point here. The extraordinary bias of a lot of discourse in the USA is a legitimate point from the right. And it's important to realize this, I think. So if you go to the website Econ Live, paper storage resource, there's a paper called The Prevalence of Marxism in Academia. Now, the prevalence of Marxism overall is pretty low. I'm not going to exaggerate in biology departments or something. But among social scientists, the people that are teaching in many education schools, the people that are, most of the 1619 columnists or content producers would fall in this category, 18.6% of them said they identified as communists or Marxists. Another 21% said they identified as actual active radicals. and another 24%, someone might correct me by a point or two, said they were activists. They were people that wanted major social change. So those are three separate questions on the survey. That's around 60% of the total pool, right? So it's one thing to say we need to talk about 18 plus 21.
Well, I mean, that math it could be any percentage. Like, you don't know based on those.
No, but it's three different questions. Do you think, okay, so between 25, the largest of the three figures, and 60% of the sitting tenured professors in my field and those around it identify as some sort of radical, fairly significant fringe individual politically. So I think when we hear the mainstream position in the media and in academia, it's important to realize how very far that is from the mainstream position in the country. That doesn't necessarily make the mainstream position in the country correct, but it's certainly important when it comes to what we should be teaching. So no, I don't think 1619, the Revolutionary War was fought because of slavery, so on, reflects any mainstream position, even in the field of history, much less nationally.
Well, I mean, I don't think the layperson has any opinion whatsoever. But like, I hear your point there. All right.